All right, welcome to The Explainer. Think about it for a second. The living world is just packed with millions of species, right? From the tiniest microbe to the biggest blue whale. So how in the world do we even start to make sense of all that? Well, today we're going to dive into the really brilliant system scientists came up with to bring some order to the beautiful chaos of life on Earth.
Okay, so before we can really appreciate the solution, we have to get our heads around the size of the problem. And, we are talking about a diversity of life that's so huge, it's almost impossible to even imagine.
So get this. Right now, scientists have identified and described somewhere between 1.7 and 1.8 million different species. That incredible variety, that's what we call biodiversity. And the craziest part? That huge number is probably just a tiny fraction of what's actually out there. We're discovering new species all the time.
So you can see how this massive number creates a huge communication problem. Think about it. Let's say a scientist in Brazil finds a new medicine in a local plant. How does a researcher over in Japan make sure they're studying the exact same plant? If everyone's using different names and different systems, global science would just be chaos.
And to really get why the solution is so brilliant, we have to dig into the problem it was designed to fix. And it all starts with something really simple. The everyday names that you and I use for plants and animals.
Okay, for example, take the bird we call a robin, right? Here in North America, that's a type of thrush. But if you're in Europe, a robin is a totally different, much smaller bird. Now, imagine that same confusion, but multiply it by millions of species across hundreds of different languages. It's a total mess, a scientific Tower of Babel. So what do? How do you fix this global mix-up? Well, you create a universal language. And that is exactly what a Swedish naturalist named Carl Linnaeus did with a system so elegant we're still using it hundreds of years later. The idea at its core is just beautifully simple. Every single species gets one official, two-part scientific name, and that name is recognized by everyone, everywhere in the world. It's like a universal ID card for every living thing on the planet. So, how does this two-part name actually work? Let's take something we all know, a mango. Its scientific name is Mangifera indica. The first part, Mangifera, that's the genus. You can kind of think of it like the organism's last name. It groups it together with its close relatives, in this case, other similar fruit trees. And the second part, indica, that's the specific name. That's like its first name. It pins down that one exact species. And of course, to make sure this system works for everyone, there are a few simple, universal rules. First, the name is always in Latin. Why? Because it's a dead language, which means it doesn't change over time. Super stable. It's always written in italics. The first word, the genus, is always capitalized, and the second word, the species, is always lowercase. These strict rules are what make it work. They get rid of any confusion, so a scientist anywhere on Earth knows exactly what organism you're talking about.
But you know what? Giving everything a unique name is really only half the story. The real genius of this whole thing is how these names fit into a much bigger structure. It's not just some giant random list. It's a massive filing system that actually shows how all life is connected.
This whole thing is called the taxonomic hierarchy. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a series of nested folders on your computer. You start at the most specific level, the species, and as you click up a level, each of those levels is called a taxon. The group gets bigger and more inclusive. It's all about connecting organisms based on shared features, from the super specific to the really, really broad.
You know, the easiest way to see how this works is to actually place ourselves into the system. So let's do it. Let's classify a Homo sapiens, that's us, a human, and we'll start at the very bottom and work our way up. Okay, so at the most specific, most fundamental level, you've got our species name, Homo sapiens. This group is just us, all living humans. Basically, any organisms that can interbreed and have kids who can also have kids. It's our most exclusive little biological club.
All right, let's go up one level. Our species, sapiens, gets grouped into the genus Homo. Now, this folder also includes our closest extinct relatives, like Neanderthals. So a genus is just a collection of really similar, very closely related species.
Okay, next up, related genera groups like Homo get bundled into a family. Our genus belongs to the family Hominidae, and this group also includes the genera for gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans. See how it works? As we keep moving up, the circle gets bigger and the shared traits get a little more general.
And if we keep climbing that ladder, grouping families into orders, then orders into classes, and classes into phyla, we eventually get to one of the biggest, broadest categories of all, the kingdom Animalia. This is the massive club we share with literally every other animal on the planet, from tiny insects all the way to giant blue whales. And this is where you can really see the power of this system, how it maps out all these relationships. I mean, look at a human and a housefly. Yeah, we're both in the animal kingdom, but after that, our paths split almost immediately. A mango and a wheat plant, on the other hand, are actually more closely related. They shared the same major plant division before they split off. It's just this incredibly precise and elegant map of the entire tree of life. So you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat way to organize things, but is this all just a massive exercise in cosmic bookkeeping? Absolutely not. This whole system of organization reveals something incredibly profound about life itself. And here it is. This is the most important takeaway of all. This classification system, it isn't just a bunch of random boxes we made up. It's actually a map of evolution. Think about it. The more categories two organisms share, the more recently they shared a common ancestor. It's not just a filing system. It's a family tree for all of life.
And that leads to this really humbling idea, which is captured perfectly in this quote. All present-day living organisms are related to each other and also to all organisms that ever lived on this earth. I mean, wow. The very fact that we can build this kind of nested system is basically the ultimate proof that we all share a common ancestry. It confirms that you and I are connected to every single plant, every animal, every microbe on this planet.
So this powerful method of creating order from chaos, it's not just about biology, is it? It's a fundamental way we make sense of our entire universe. And it kind of leaves you with a really big question, right? What other incredible things can we learn about our world just by looking for the hidden systems that create order out of chaos?